In the Bible, God promised the Hebrew nation a land flowing with milk and honey, a land called Israel. The Israelites built their nation in Israel, establishing Jerusalem as their capital and home to their holy temple. The Israelites had a rough history in Israel and saw their temple destroyed twice. Many Israelites were forced to flee Israel and find safe haven in other parts of the world.
The Palestinian people are an eclectic group made of the original settlers and their conquerors. The Palestinians, unlike the Israelis, are made up of many different origins, but their ancestors have one thing in common. Once settled, they never left the land, despite the multitude of conquests. Many Palestinians today have roots that are traced back to before the 7th century and some even longer. The Palestinians have persevered through centuries of conquest, always holding to their roots, until the 20th century when the Israelis returned with aid from the Western world.
The descendants of these two nations are currently inhabiting the same land, known to some as Israel and to others, Palestine. Today, there is a lot of debate over who has a right to the land, if a two-state solution is possible, and if peace can ever be achieved. We interviewed 4 college students about their thoughts on this topic.
Hey, my name is Zahara Abdin Jabir. I'm a sociology major and a junior.
Martine Better, classical humanities and Latin American studies, and a music minor.
Hi, I'm Ashley Vosmera Mitchell, graphic design.
My name is Max Blumenfeld, Loyola University in New Orleans. I'm a junior, finance.
This documentary is looking at differing opinions on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict and looking at the way backgrounds and personal histories affect opinions of the conflict.
My dad's side of the family is Jewish, and I decided to have a bar mitzvah. It was either becoming fully Catholic or becoming fully Jewish. And I went for becoming fully Jewish because something about the community that I found in Boulder, Colorado just drew me in. It made me feel at home, I guess. And so I went through the whole process of conversion and everything. And then after high school, I wanted a different kind of experience, so I decided to go to Israel.
I don't necessarily have any personal connection. It's mostly just what I hear at school or read about or talk about in class.
Originally, I'm from Palestine, like my parents come from there, but I was born and raised in New Orleans. I've been brought up like in the whole Palestinian tradition, and we're all like, yay Palestine. And I go like back home every 3 to 4 years. I get to visit family, and just if we never left. Just pick up right back where you left off, but it's been like really hard nowadays, I guess, because you can't like really go wherever you want. You have to have like a certain kind of passport and everything. And it's also expensive to go, so that's another reason.
I'm Jewish, so by default, I kind of pay attention to what happens over in the Middle East. I have family that has lived in Israel. I have family that currently lives in Israel. I plan on visiting Israel at some point in my life, if not living there.
The Balfour Declaration, written in 1917, urged Lord Rothschild to consider Palestine as a national home for the Jewish people. The Balfour Declaration states, "Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations, which has been submitted to and approved by the Cabinet. His Majesty's government view with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people, and will use their best endeavors to facilitate the achievement of the object, it being clearly understood that nothing shall be done which may prejudice the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine or the rights and political status enjoyed by Jews in any other country. I should be grateful if you would bring this declaration to the knowledge of the Zionist Federation. Yours sincerely, signed, Arthur James Balfour."
I think it was like meant for it to succeed, like for the Israelis. It was never like gonna benefit the Palestinians in any way.
Honestly, it kind of just makes me feel a little bit sad, and the fact that it's basically imperialism, like promising someone else's land that is not yours to someone else. I feel very strongly about that, and I feel like Western culture kind of breeds that kind of ideology where we feel like we can take land or take resources and give them away freely because we own them or have a connection to them or have done something for the people who live there.
A declaration like that can't be agreed upon when there's just hatred that is driving the actions of the opposing side.
On May 14th, 1948, Israel officially became a state. The following day, war broke out between Israel and the neighboring Arab states. Israel captured 50% of the area allotted to the Palestinians, and over 500,000 Palestinians became refugees.
They took advantage of like their position, and instead of like following what they had previously said, since they had like the upper hand, they just kind of took control of all of the Palestinians and all of the land, and they still continue to do what they want and not really have concern for everyone else. I don't think they're being treated fairly because they're not being like accepted anywhere else they go, and they still feel like they don't belong no matter where they go to or try to start a new life, that no place feels like home.
You surround yourself by 5 countries that have reason to want you gone, then you kind of accept that responsibility.
And there's so much that has happened in such a long period. Well, I guess it's a short period of time in like retrospect, but like a 60-year span is quite a bit of time, and a lot of stuff has happened in that amount of time, and like you can't necessarily go back. And even if Palestine did get what they want, would it be peaceful? If Israel gets what they want, like, will it be peaceful? I don't think there's ever going to be a peaceful way to solve a problem that has aroused so much anger and hatred in people. For it to just go away and be happy and good is not possible, I don't think.
You can't identify an entire group of people as terrorists. That's just nonsense. However, you can't expect something to come. You can't incentivize A and expect B. Israel has certainly persevered. It's a nation of people that have persevered. I think it will continue to live on.
It is certain that over the last century, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict has brought this world nothing but pain and debt to thousands of undeserving. A land given by God is nothing less than cursed by humanity. Is there hope for peace between these battered and worn sides? Does the next century hold the key to much-needed relief? These questions are not easily answered, but one thing is for sure. It no longer matters how the conflict began, but rather where it is going. And there is indeed hope for the future on both sides.
That's probably the biggest thing about it, actually, is if you're going to migrate somewhere, you have to treat the communities that are already settled there with care and be careful with interactions. You can't come in there and have this mindset like, I'm going to settle here, and regardless of the people that are already here, I'm going to bring my family and my friends and everyone. There has to be a communication with the culture that's already there, and I think that's actually one of the biggest reasons for why the conflict escalated to where it is now is that there was no open communication, or there was no genuine communication. There was no mutual understanding.
I just wish it would end. I feel like it is possible for us to all just live in the same place and get along and just.
אני ואתה נשנה את העולם. אני ואתה אז יבואו כבר כולם. אמרו את זה קודם לפניי, לא משנה. אני ואתה נשנה את העולם.